Hello and welcome to the Just Another Castle podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and with me this week are...
Oh, hi, I'm Eli. I forgot that I'm supposed to introduce myself.
You're the senior member, man, and I'm Unoclay from Philadelphia. What? I'm back, everybody. I know you were dying and quitting the podcast without me around. Psych. It's okay. You're probably psyched that I wasn't here and you guys could talk about Pokemon. Am I right?
Yep. So it'll seem as if you weren't here anyway.
Why? What happened while I was gone? Seriously, I had to...
oh my gosh, too much news. I didn't get to really go over and collect all of it, but lots of rumors. Actually, we do have something to talk about related to that later in the podcast, but we'll start off with what we've been playing, and I did play a couple of things new this week. So I tried out Transformers Devastation. It's from Platinum Games, the company Mike hates so much, who also made Bayonetta and a couple of other games as well. Them and Activision have gotten really close ties over the last couple of years. I think it's decent so far. I'm not crazy about it, but it's not like I hate it. It's an okay platform. I only paid $15 for it on Steam, which I think is about as much as it's worth, not 60. That's a bit insane. It plays pretty much like Bayonetta, but rather than just having Bayonetta, it's Transformers. So you have a bunch of different characters. So you have Optimus Prime, who does some more damage, but he's slower. You have Sideswipe, which is quick, and does, I think, medium damage. Bumblebee, which is quick, but I think does the least amount of damage. I know there's Ratchet or something. I forget, he has 2 wrenches or something. He's the medic of the group. He's medium all the way around. And then Grimlock, which is the heavy guy. And he's slow, but he's stronger, or supposed to be stronger. I don't know. I haven't really gotten to play with him too much. They can all transform and stuff on the fly, which is really cool. So you can just transform in your car, and you can do all these sorts of crazy weapons or crazy attacks and whatnot by filling up gauges and whatnot. I don't know. I haven't played too much of it. I think I'm on the 4th chapter. I don't know how many chapters there are. I'm guessing
You said you're playing it on Steam, correct?
Yeah.
Right on. Well, hey, Platinum made Star Fox, so or helped make Star Fox, so I think Star Fox is awesome. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I like Platinum. I'm no Mike hater, or Mike Greer, or whatever you would say, on that one. So does it have their kind of stamp of quality and difficulty in the game or whatever? That's usually what I notice about their games, are kind of really slickly polished looking, and then there's usually a fair amount of difficult in all the stuff I've played by those guys.
It seems about in the middle, I guess. It doesn't seem exceedingly hard, but it's not it's incredibly easy. I don't know. I'm only 4 chapters in, and I'm sure there's between 10 and 15 chapters. I think most of the game is just going to take place in the city and not really expand out of there. That's just my guess after playing some of the other games like Core that didn't really... I know that was a digital title, but it didn't really go much farther, and this doesn't seem like it'll go too much farther. The only downside is, for whatever reason, they've decided not to have a lock-on button, so no Z targeting kind of thing. And I don't know. If you make a 3D action game, that should be the number one thing you have automatically if combat is gonna be a main thing. Banjo and Kazooie, you don't need a lock on because it's 1 or 2 hits for an enemy, right? So combat there isn't important. But for something like this, where it's an action game that's heavily focused on combat, it's really annoying that you have to keep turning the camera around to make sure you can follow the enemy and make sure you don't get hit from behind and whatnot. It makes no sense because this came after Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, so it's basically running on that same kind of engine. So I don't know why they don't have a lock-on mechanic. It just makes no sense. But I don't know.
I mean, frankly, for me, something like the property of Transformers has gone down the toilet thanks to those wonderful films. And so, like, I wouldn't expect a whole lot if I was picking up a Transformers game, to be honest with you. It's, not like it used to be for that.
Well, the cool thing is it isn't based off of the movies. It's based off of, like, the original TV show. So they're all, like, cartoony and colorful like they are. And they got, like, the original voice actors, too, which is pretty cool.
Oh, wow, crazy. Cool.
Yeah, so I don't know how they swung over with that, but I guess Activision was like, yeah, that's cool. Let's just go with that instead. It's decent. If you think it looks like decent fun, then you'll get, like, decent fun out of it. Again, I still have to play more of it, but I don't think too much will change. I did play a bit of Pokemon Go, so Unoclay, you're probably not aware, but my iPad doesn't have GPS, and the only way to do it is, buy a plan for my old iPad and then connect it through that, and I'm not paying $10 a month for just this one game. It's kind of ridiculous. Plus, I'd have to, like, walk or drive pretty far just to get into an area with a bunch of them. A bunch of the Pokestops, so I don't know. It's not really worth it for me at this point. But I was able to play it at home, so at first I thought I wasn't going to be able to because I didn't have GPS, but the only reason I wasn't able to log in was just because the servers were crapping out. And I actually did get to try it out this week. And I did have some Pokemon show up in my house very rarely on its own, but when I use the lure, which attracts Pokemon, then I got, like, a bunch of Pokemon in. So they give you 2 by default, so I could at least, like, test out the game slightly. And I don't know, it's weird because I know basically every Pokemon there is, especially the first generation, but just seeing, like, the Pokemon come up on screen and being like, oh man, I haven't caught this Pokemon yet, I want to catch it. Yeah, it's just really cool to go back to that kind of feeling. Like, even I know everything, but it's like they've somehow been able to bring that feeling back. It's like, oh man, did you get this Pokemon? No, but I got this, and this one's uncommon or rare or whatever. It's really cool. So
besides asking you guys, besides asking you the obvious question that I'll skip, which is, did you set up any lures and trap any little kids in your house with the famous, like, Pokemon lure that I heard about in the, like, Fox Newses of the world and stuff like that over the last couple of weeks? Let me ask you this, more pertinent question. Have you guys spent any money in the game? I'm genuinely curious, like, because, that's what Nintendo's hoping for. So have you guys dropped some coin?
I already admitted to this. I already admitted this last week. I spent $20 on the game.
Cool.
Oh, no, did you spend another 10? Because I think you only said 10 before.
I think that I just didn't give a full account of my spending last week.
Okay. You realized the bill came in and you're like, oh, I spent more.
No, I more like was kind of ashamed of it, and then this week I decided to atone for my dishonesty and admit the fact that I spent, or maybe I spent those $10 in the last week. I don't remember, but yeah, I've spent $20, and
there's nothing to be ashamed about, man. You're supporting something you love. That's actually like why.
The way I looked at it is like I've probably spent, I don't know, 30 hours or more playing this game. I play it whenever I go on a run, and I run every day. So. If I play a video game and I get $1 per hour of entertainment, that's like an incredible deal. Usually it's about maybe like $3 an hour for entertainment or $2 an hour of entertainment. So the fact that I spent $20 and gotten way more than that in hours out of it, I'd say it was, a good deal. And I'm okay with spending that money. I'm not, I'm a poor college student, but I'm not a broke college student. So what limited funds I have, I can irresponsibly throw away at mobile games.
Yeah.
When you're running, I want to remind all the listeners that I've been away for a few weeks. I literally didn't listen to any news, and all I know about Pokemon Go is that it was like people are crashing cars trying to catch Pokemon and like luring little kids to their demise and stuff like that.
It's what you thought would happen to the world when a Pokemon online game would happen. You're like, uh-oh, the world is being destroyed.
I don't remember, Matt. Did I talk on the show about how I almost got hit by a truck?
Yeah, you did.
My God.
Oh yeah, so that happened. I was running around a park, and to be fair, it was on sidewalk, so I didn't expect a park ranger to be driving up on a truck. So it was not my fault, but I did almost run headfirst into an oncoming truck.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. You said you use it when you're going for a run? Do you build like a Virtual Boy type headset for your phone so you can see the Pokemon while you're running or something? What's the deal there?
Nah, I'm just looking. First of all, I have AR disabled always because it wastes battery. But I just have it down on my side. When it vibrates, I look at it. I know where the poke spots are, so I kind of run to those places to get my free Pokeballs and stuff usually.
This is awesome.
The big problem with it, though, when it's running, is that it doesn't keep track of my distance very well. I remember I ran 14 miles like a week ago in one go, and when I came back, it literally just tracked 5 kilometers.
14 miles? I don't think I've ever walked 14 miles. Holy crap! No, I really I actually walk a ton, but that's incredible, dude.
Yeah, so I run a decent amount. But yeah, this was like what pissed me off the most. I ran 14 miles and I got 5 kilometers on an egg, and that's 3 miles. So it didn't track more than 10 miles of my run.
Okay.
It's terrible about that sort of thing.
That's weird coming from them, because they were the one. Well, I know Nintendo didn't technically develop this, but they at least oversaw it. But Nintendo was the one who, or maybe it was Pokemon, whatever. One of the companies involved in this gosh dang thing made the pedometer for, I think it was Black and White, and it was like the most technically advanced pedometer of the time.
So that's the difference.
So
it doesn't. The problem is it doesn't use your pedometer. Yeah. It uses your GPS. If it used your pedometer, then perhaps it would have tracked me and it would have been all fine. But it doesn't. It uses your GPS. And so what I think is happening, and I might be completely off base here, but what I think is happening is that it's constantly pinging the server or whatever with my location. Mm-hmm. And I live in an area where my reception is not like spectacular, especially on 4G. Yeah. And so what I'm thinking is that when it's pinging the server and watching me move, it's not pinging consistently enough. And in the game, if you're moving faster than 10 miles an hour, it doesn't count because it thinks you're in a vehicle. Mm. So
you're running as fast as like Usain Bolt then.
So I'm running probably like 8 miles an hour, so I should be like under the limit or whatever. But my guess is that since it pings relatively infrequently or like not enough times, it's kind of like skidding around. So it's like breaking up. You know what I mean? So like when it pings, it seems like I'm moving faster than 10 miles an hour because it's pinging rarer. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wonder if they'll add that in the Poke, whatever the wristband thing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. Actually, maybe that would. If they added that in, that'd probably be worth a reason for me to buy the thing right there.
It sounds like something that might be worth it to you, I guess. I don't know. It's really wishy-washy still. It's like
I wish it wasn't broken. I wish it wasn't broken in the first place, but yeah. So I've been playing. So yeah, I played that. Are you done with everything you've been playing?
Yeah. Go on.
The only other thing I've been playing is more Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which, as I said in previous weeks, I think is the best Assassin's Creed game in a while. It's really good. I'm about to finish it up. I really love how well the city's designed. It's just really, engrossing. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really been playing a ton of games. I've been watching a lot of this TV show called Weeds.
I feel for you, brother. That my wife watched that stuff and like. I like me some weed on occasion. Even I don't like that show. I was like, Jesus, this woman is annoying. Kevin Nealon barely saved it for me. But how do you like it? What are you in the first season or?
Well, no. Okay, so here's the deal. I work doing research for a professor, and I work from home. And I finished like most of the work he gave me like a certain amount of work for the summer, and I finished off all that work because I'm an ultra productive person. And so he sent me over some like extra work to do, which is fine because I want to get paid. So he sent over some extra work, but this is like more mindless. And he's like, I hope you have a good TV show to watch. So I was talking to this girl over text, and she was watching Weeds, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. And I'm watching it. So I guess this is nothing game related, but I'll talk about it. The first season is pretty good. I actually kind of liked her, the main character, the first season. I'm like, wow, she's kind of a badass. Like, I like how she rolls, blah, blah, blah. And then once I got in the second season, I'm like, actually, this is terrible.
That was my experience watching it over my wife's shoulder. I was like, this is getting really annoying, but it was only after I'd watched it for a while. So, yeah, I hear you. Right on.
Like, I mean, but it's almost like junk food, because the episodes are only like 25 minutes long, and the show was definitely not written while the writers were sober. They were definitely like on cloud nine.
So they read what writing reads.
Yeah, no, I mean it's some of the stuff like At first, the show starts off, and the first like half of the first season is just normal, and you're like, all right, I see. I wonder if this plot's gonna get deeper or whatever and develop. But no, like they start throwing out this weirdest stuff. It's like, where did they come up with this? It's just
Look
the
at
most
the title of the show.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny though. So I've just been watching it like in the background while doing work, just kind of distract me, and I think it's kind of funny.
Right on.
Yeah.
Kevin Nealon's decent. He made me laugh. I really couldn't stand the neighbor character, the woman that's all like badass, and I was just like, I think she's like the neighbor. She's sort of like the dealer in the first season that's hooking her up or whatever, and I just like that's where I started to lose it. I was like, I can't watch this. But yeah, enough about how I hate almost every television show. I could go on.
Well, yeah, well that was weird because this is okay. I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I go to the movies like 3 times a year, and I watch. Like I have it. My parents have Netflix, and I have the password, but I barely ever use it. But since I can't play video games while I'm doing work, since my hands are occupied working. So I had to watch a TV show. This is literally the first TV show I've watched more than a season of in a long time. Like since
good.
Breaking Bad probably
all
was
good,
the last
man.
time.
All good. There's room for junk food television in this world, so that's cool.
We seem pretty identical with our thoughts. Like we don't really see movies much, and we don't watch a whole lot of TV. But that's one. When it comes to doing work and putting something on the background, I don't really like putting TV on because I like to get invested in it. Like when I see one of my parents like turn on a movie and then they like leave it to go to the bathroom or go get something in the kitchen, leave it playing. I'm like, no, you're doing it wrong. You're not paying attention.
So what Matt, what you're telling us is when you watch TV shows, you watch TV shows right.
So you watch
Correct.
them. Yeah. Well, I'm the same way, Matt. I have a hard time with that. YouTube is the only thing I do that with. I've tried to develop that habit of the modern people where I like put on YouTube in the background and, watch stuff I would never watch otherwise, is the only thing, I guess. I'm trying it out. But like I get distracted, Yeah.
So what I was going to say is I don't like to put videos on in the background while I'm doing like work or something else, but I do really like to put on podcasts or just YouTube videos that are more about someone talking and the visual aspect isn't really necessary, like they're just talking about topics and whatnot. So so when I'm doing something, whether it's like art related or something that doesn't require me to listen to narration or audio, I really like to just put someone talking in the background and doing something like that, because the problem is I do like listening to music, but you can only listen to music so long before it's like, okay, I know I have 400 songs, but it keeps going to the same ones and I don't want to hear these songs anymore. I'm getting sick of it. So I like go back and forth with music.
So listeners, what we're trying to say is if you're listening to us in the background while you're doing something else, stop doing that and pay more attention, because we're important. Like, we're not like weeds, and we're not like these dumb podcasts and stuff. We're important.
The only time I think I did that with a TV show was Rick and Morty, and I forget what I was doing on the computer, but it was something where I could like keep looking back. I think I was like rendering or just doing something that barely needed my attention on the computer, but like just enough where it was like working somewhere. I forget, but that was basically the only show, and that was short enough seasons, and I was able to pay enough attention to it. But that's enough out of me. Clay, what have you been up to?
Hi guys, I'm back. Yeah, no, I've been traveling a lot, and so I was on a plane a few times, and in a few waiting area situations. So my number one rec right now is something I might have mentioned, I think, back before I took off, but I downloaded that Terraria game for 3DS, and I've had a few friends that have tried it out and talked to them about it since I got really into it, and some people seem to have a trouble getting into it for the same complaint I've heard twice from 2 different people, that they said they didn't know what to do in it. And it's kind of funny because it's, now that I've played a lot of it, I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't tried it yet, but one of the best things about it is almost figuring that out. Like, it's like play with the game and find stuff to do, and the game kind of expands. It's maybe 1 part SteamWorld Dig and a big part of Minecraft from what I've seen of what Minecraft is like, but not nearly as much building, more like exploring and battles. And then there's some other kinds of games thrown in there, all through the lens of something that looks like it would be on Super Nintendo. But pretty sophisticated in a very subtle way. And it's all about the discovery. And it's a perfect mobile game. That's what I would say. If it hooks you and you're willing to pay, I think it's like $10 for 3DS. I absolutely think it's one of the best 3DS games I've had in a long time for the amount of content and hours you can sink into it, because it's got crafting, exploration, items management. There's a lot of that you do spend a lot of time kind of juggling your items and figuring out what to do with different things you craft, like I said. So you got to figure out how to make things, and the game does not hold your hand. There's a lot of maybe relying a little bit on expecting you to be a gamer who understands how games work. So if you find this thing and then you sort of notice that it might be able to be combined with this other thing, you do that and then kind of experiment, go out in the world, and the world slowly evolves. And you can cheat and look things up, and I think the game would have a little bit less rewarded to it. But I mean, some people just like to have a guide and know where to go first. So I do say it with that comment, because some of my friends that I've told them to try it, like I said, they said they didn't know what to do. And so my recommendation is, well, get the game, kind of dig around. You start mining just like you do in SteamWorld Dig, and see what happens. Kind of explore. I really like it. I've been playing a ton of it. It really, really made my flights go by fast. I ran out my battery, and luckily I have a couple of those standalone cell phone battery chargers, because my one flight was 6 hours. So I was yeah, I really was. I was reading a book, and I would just find myself thinking about Terraria, and I'd be I want to play it some more. And I'd open it up and just be grinding some more, and it's an action adventure game with RPG elements. There's not a lot of leveling up or anything like that. It's more like Monster Hunter, where you're more getting your equipment and stuff like that. But I don't want to say too much. Other than that, I mean, I should ask. I should stop and ask. Have you guys played that at all? I forget if we've talked about this before or not.
I haven't.
Yeah, it's a good game, man. If you need a mobile game for your 3DS.
It sounds interesting, because I think, at least for me, there's a fine line. Like you were saying, it borrows from Minecraft and SteamWorld Dig, and the funny thing is, I like SteamWorld Dig, but I don't really care much for Minecraft. I know Minecraft added a bunch of things, but I'm talking about when I played it when it first came out. The reason I didn't care much for that was because there was literally no sense of direction. It's just you can make whatever, and for me, if you're too open, then I get bored, because okay, I have nothing to work towards, so why would I do anything? But with SteamWorld Dig, it's okay, you can explore if you want, but reach this 500 meters down,
right,
or find
there's
this
a
one
pretty clear
area.
Objective.
Yeah, there's at least an objective, but then it makes the exploration, I guess, more fun, because oh yeah, you can go down here, but I feel like going on the left here because it looks like there's a treasure, or I feel like
that's
destroying
a lot of
bricks.
So. Is. Just to downplay the Minecraft comparison a little bit, keep in mind I've never played it. Yeah. The building aspect is it's up to you. I can tell you can spend a lot of time building houses and making a fort and things like that in Terraria, but that's up to you. I'm trying to kind of avoid really saying much, because I think games are best experienced when you haven't known a ton about them sometimes, and there's not a lot of there's certainly no extreme reason you would spend time in Terraria building really elaborate stuff, because first of all, it's 2D. Yeah. So it's not like Minecraft where you're going to build a fortress from some famous movie or something like that. It's no, you're going to build a cool house and put some turrets on it, or who knows what. You could probably get pretty crazy with it. I haven't. I am so functional with that stuff. I literally just build the minimal amount of stuff I need to get going. So it's more the thing you're saying you liked about SteamWorld Dig, where it's the first and obvious thing, if you would start Terraria, is what's down there, and go for it. Go find out. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty to find out. That's what I can say. It's pretty rad, but it's a little hard too. It gets hard after a while, but not. You could cheat, look things up, I guess, if you were running into walls, because that's part of it that I've been enjoying. You run into stuff you can't figure out, and you're what in the heck just happened? I died. I got slaughtered, like Dark Souls style kind of thing. Was I supposed to be there? do I have the right equipment? That kind of stuff happens to you in this game. So, but Eli, had you played it at all?
No, I've not. And well,
it's a commitment, I'll tell you that. And if you don't have the time, it's not a 5-hour game. I'm at probably like 25 hours, and I don't think I've scratched the surface. I'm not.
Yeah,
kidding.
I can't do that. And plus, as Matt said, I have trouble with really open games.
Right on.
On.
Well, it's out there if you guys have a big flight or trials coming up, because it's one of those things. It's a bigger game, not a small game, and it's on 3DS, which doesn't have a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that they brought it over. But yeah, I usually need a little bit more direction in a game to really enjoy it. I don't like when they just drop you in the middle of something and kind of tell you to figure it out.
Right on.
And I did spend a substantial amount of time in Minecraft, which has been compared to it, but
right. Well, hey, there you guys go. So you guys will hate this game, listeners. You might like it, so try it out.
Well, no, it sounds cool. It sounds like it's more on the SteamWorld Dig end of things. So I'm thinking I'm more likely to like it than not like it.
I don't know, but I appreciated SteamWorld Dig for its Metroid. I mean, not Metroidvania, I wouldn't call it, but its progression system. How you always felt like you were getting more powerful. In the platforming system of the jumping and this and that and the other.
Right.
If I'm remembering correctly, and I presume Terraria doesn't really have any of that.
It's not gated in the same way. It's more like equipment based. Like you won't be able to get through certain situations without better equipment, but it is gated, but in a less obvious way. SteamWorld Dig is a far more tighter game, you would say, would be correct, what you guys are picking up on. It's a tighter, more obvious, driven game, where this is definitely much more of a large game. So yeah, mark it down, people, if you need a big game with a little bit more freedom for your 3DS, because it's one of the larger titles I've played on 3DS too, especially from a download perspective, not a Nintendo produced thing or whatever. But other than that, I played a lot of Wario Land 3, which one of my good gaming friends has sworn by for years, and he's like, it's the best in the series, which is a tall thing, because if you played the Wario Land games, 2 and 4 are freaking amazing games, and then he's always stood by 3 as the best one, and I'm not ready to say that it's the best. I mean, Part 4 is the best graphics. Part 3 still has those wonky GBA-looking graphics, which are awesome because they're Wario, and they look hilarious. And it's got the great funny animations of all the Wario games, how he always kind of looks doofy, and he's really framey and all that stuff on purpose. I really loved Wario Land 2, and Wario Land 3 is a lot more of the same. Only the comical thing is, back when this came out, I will say this, compared to Part 2, how people really hated Metroid Other M because they took away Samus's powers and then had to gimp it to explain why she didn't have powers? They do the same thing in Wario Land 3. Suddenly he just doesn't have any of the powers that he had in Part 2. And you just have to re-earn them for no reason. But I don't think the internet had a crybaby fit over Wario Land 3 when it came out. That it's now you have to relearn all your techniques and all your strategies and all your move. You start out basically completely handicapped, and you're sitting there thinking, I just finished Wario Land 2. Wait, didn't I have all these special moves? And now I'm back to regular old Wario, and I have to earn back the same powers. But it's how the game's gated, so to speak, and it's a fun game. And if you like the Wario Land games, it's no news to you that all of them are great. If you haven't played any of them, I'd say play them. I've never played Wario Land 1. I actually don't know what system it's on. It's probably on Game Boy or something. But Part 2, 3, and 4 all really are excellent games, and you can download all 3 of those on the 3DS, and all are worth your money. They're just amazingly funny games, and if you've never experienced them, the GBA ones are really excellent. And the DS, I think Part 4 was on DS originally, and they're just awesome. Super fun platformers with kind of a sense of humor to them and stuff. So played a bunch of that. So
to be fair with Metroid, they literally do that in every game. So
yeah,
I mean, 10 years of that, I'm sure it packs up. Find Samus the 20th time. You must have ADD or something. Oh, look, a squirrel! I dropped everything in the sewer.
I mean, they should have had Adam, her commander, or Wario's commander, tell him, Wario, you're not allowed to use your powers until I say so. And he'd be like, wow.
And then he just farts in their face and takes it.
Yeah, they didn't bother to explain it. You literally just are Wario, and the game starts, and you got no powers, and that you deal with it.
One quick thing before we move on. I don't want to dwell too much time on it, but because you brought up Star Fox, they did have 2 demos that released, and I talked about it last. Excuse me. Last week. But I played the regular demo of the game for Star Fox Zero. It's a bunch of training missions with the vehicles. It's basically just here's an open space, run around and shoot some things.
Sure.
I don't really like the controls. I had a flight sim experience that week as well, and that was easier to grasp than Star Fox Zero. So I thought that was kind of funny. I didn't spend an hour in Star Fox Zero compared to the flight sim, but I thought it was kind of funny that I was like, hey, the realistic way of doing it is easier than Nintendo's convoluted way.
There is a lot of those training missions are in the game itself, and they are really clunky. But
yeah, I mean, it's not entirely fair because you're not playing a real mission up against actual enemies and the way they structure things. But
Mask, were you playing missions that were kind of open world versus like more like linear experience?
The one with the R wing was pretty straightforward. It was this regular like I forget when on rail shooter part, and then they go into like an open world. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. I said a lot about the things about the controls. I didn't really like it, but I was excited for Star Fox Guard, and after like the first mission of Star Fox Guard, I got hooked onto that thing. You get like 10 levels in the demo, and it's just such a good game. And for $20, I definitely want to buy it down the line. So
that's funny. I've been saying that.
If I can get a deal like Eli, where I get the game or both games for $20, then sure.
I got both games for $20.
Yeah, Mr. Deal over here. So if I got that, I'd buy it. But I'm more interested in Guard. But
I've been saving Guard because it's like I have it on my stack, but I'm really near the end of Star Fox Zero. But it's the kind of game that it isn't for everybody. I've got it's like the whole game where it's like tries to make you do the levels over and over again to get all the medals.
Yeah.
So I'm probably 50% complete of the game, but I mean it's brutally difficult if you're not willing to cheat, which I haven't. So it's like you don't even know how to get a lot of the medals. So I totally respect the complaints about the controls on the game. I can't defend them entirely. They are tricky. I mean, I play a lot of the Star Fox game though, so I've gotten used to them. But I completely understand. It is it's not for everybody. It's certainly not straightforward. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, if you like tower defense games, you'll love Star Fox Guard. It's just amazing.
Well, I like Slippy, so I know I'll like it no matter what. I'm ready for Slippy to be featured.
Slippy and Grippy.
Yo, I can't even wait. It's like
poor name choices. So we'll move on into some announcements and news things. So the Pokemon Go Plus, which is the wrist attachment thing, is delayed to September. They didn't give anything specific, just that they want to make it better. So who knows, they might add a pedometer or something. I kind of doubt pedometer, but who knows what they do to it. Amiibo sales have been down 60% year over year. I think it's been 2 years since Amiibo came out, because it's when Smash came out, which I believe was 2014. So I'm kind of not surprised sales have gone down, because most of the Smash Amiibo are out, or literally all but 3 are out. So I think people are...
And then people realized that they were a freaking filthy scam.
Well, I mean, it was already like that to begin with. It's like, okay, the best thing you can do is upgrade your character in Smash, and even then it's like, you could just play online, or you could play against a PC. So, I mean, even the first use wasn't...
You can make your friends jealous with your, like, Wii Fit trainer that you have on your dresser and stuff like that. And be like, yeah, I got Wii Fit trainer, check me out.
Yeah. And Wii U hardware is down 53%, which is not surprising. I did want to give a special shout-out to a game like half an hour. To Tadpole Treble. So it's made by Matt from Brawl in the Family, who did a webcomic for like 5 or 6 years. It was really funny. It's a musical game. You can check it out. It's coming out August 11th, so next Thursday by the time this comes out. So, I don't know. If you're interested in that, look it out. It's also on Steam if you rather have it on Steam than Wii U.
Why are you giving a shout out to this specific game? What was the? I must have missed something. What was the?
I don't know. I just felt like it. I really like the guy's comic, and he makes good. He's done musicals for the comic before that are really good. So I don't know. Being an indie developer, it's hard to get your name out there, right? So I met him
at E3 the first year I went 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and I remember, oh my god, I feel so terrible about it. I apologized to him over email. But he saw me, he's like, "Are you really from Nintendo Enthusiast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And this was probably the second day of E3. And if you remember my story from my first year of E3, like, I didn't realize how much it'd wear me out, and I fell asleep like in front of the director of of Sonic Boom.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like, remember that? So it was that day. And I went up and he's like, "Hey, like he was so excited. He's like, we got this new game, like we're working on, da da da. We're all in the family." And I had like no idea what that was. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And I was just non-functional. I felt so bad about it. I sent him an email afterwards saying like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't enthusiastic. Like I totally care. I was just dead." But yeah, I've gotten in contact with them again. That game looks cool. It's been in development for a long time.
Yeah, so I don't know. Check it out if you like musical rhythm games. Next thing, Nintendo is launching I have to tell you something else about this Unoclay. So Nintendo is launching an official NES book called Playing with Power. It's a hardcover book. Has information about NES games and developer interviews and vintage advertising pieces. It also comes with hand-drawn maps, which was I don't think that was really common for Nintendo games, but at least for like PC games back in the day, if you got something like Fallout or one of those RPGs, you'd get like a hand-drawn map or a cloth map of the world, which is cool.
Yeah.
Unoclay, I don't know if you heard about this, but Nintendo is releasing a miniature NES.
I did hear about that. Only so many people were asking me about it that I had to look it up while I was traveling. Honest to God, everyone's like, "You're the Nintendo guy. Did you hear about the little Nintendo?" And I'm like, "Huh?" Like for a couple days, you know what I mean? And then I had to look it up. Yeah, it looks awesome, right? I mean, like, I'm not going to buy it because I got all those games, but, yeah, what do you guys, I've been missing out on you guys' reaction to news, is wondering, like, where are you guys at on this? You're a newer generation than I am, so it's like, is this something that appeals to you guys, or what are you thinking?
I was thoroughly annoyed by the fact that it didn't have any online capabilities, which sounds like a joke, but I wish I could add more games to it. I don't like the fact that it's only 30.
I was not online like bothered, but I did have the reaction of like, wait, I can't put physical media in it. Like, it's funny. It's almost the exact opposite complaint, but I'm like, that's where my head was at. It's like, well, I have like hundreds of Nintendo cartridges. Like, I want to stick them in there, brah. Like she said. And it was like that then they right away clarified it can't, you know what I mean? So I hear what you're saying there. I hear what you're saying. I'm curious, did Mike get to weigh in on this yet? Was Mike around since this?
No, Mike vanished from the face of the earth.
I think he's been gone as long as you have.
Okay. Yeah, because he's the guy who he's got this weird retro like streak in him, you know what I mean? So I'm curious, like, is he going to be a subscriber? I mean, it's a collector's item to some degree. But you know who this is really striking at? Because two of my friends that I actually I saw when I was away, they have kids. And this is where this hits, guys, because this isn't something we think about as much. But to them, they're guys, in their late 30s, they got kids, and they want their kids to be raised right, i.e., they want to make them struggle with the clunky-ass jumping of ice climbers, and they want them to know what Mario Brothers was before it was Super Mario Brothers, and you had to flip over a turtle, and that's all there was. There wasn't any of these warp zones or anything like that. Just
back in my day.
Just back in my day when we didn't even have a warp zone, and you just had to flip a turtle and be happy with it, And they want their kids for real to like learn how to play these games. Plus, they want to they're not like us. They're not like, hey, did you hear about the new Fallout game? They're not like cool like that or whatever. Or the new Pokemon Shandy thing, they don't know about that stuff. They just want to play Super Mario Brothers 3 occasionally. That's all they want to do. They're literally like, hey, do you remember when games were awesome and there was Super Mario Brothers 3? And to them, both friends in question were like, A, how come I can't buy this yet? B, hey, Clay, are you going to get one? That was the two things. That's what I got both times. And I'm like, ironically, I'm probably not going to buy one, but I'm really happy for you guys because it will work. You can plug it in your television, And pretty much as long as it has Legend of Zelda, Mario 3, Metroid, Punch-Out, they're going to be psyched. They're not going to care about anything else. They're not going to care about downloading some obscure little Samson game or something like that. They're just going to be like, yo, sweet, I can play Punch-Out, and that's all I ever wanted to do. So I think there's a certain segment of the market that's going to go crazy for this. I think it'll sell pretty well, to parents especially, who, like I was saying. What about you, Matt? Were you thinking of it, getting it, or?
No, not really, because I don't think I've played all of the games on there, but I've played the ones enough that I care about that don't really care about buying it. The problem is, if I buy something like that, I know I'm not going to play all of them or most of them, so I might as well just buy individual ones I'd want if I want them. So, right. It's a cool looking item, but like you said, it's not really for Nintendo fans because we've already bought all these games like 12,000 times. It's for the lapsed gamers that were like, oh yeah, I played the NES back in the day, like however many years ago as a kid. Yeah. So, this thing's pretty cool. It has 30 games on it. Yeah, I'll pick it up. And it's targeting the whatchamacallit, like the plug and play market, because you have the Retron 5 or whatever, like all these different consoles that play like all of these retro games, but only if you have the physical cartridge. This is just like, hey, I can pay for something like that and it has all these games on it. I don't have to hunt down all of these cartridges. So
right.
It's just easy.
For my friends I was talking about, you just rattled off a lot of the inverse reasons. Yeah. They have never heard of a Retron. They literally don't know what that is. You know what I mean? They know you can play these games on their computer, but they're going to run right into the wall that a lot of us run into if you're not really invested in it. That's like, well, how do I plug a NES controller into my computer? I have no idea. Forget it.
You buy
Too
one.
hard.
Those USB ones, but yeah, I totally get it.
Headache. That's like they're like, or how do I get a ROM to run? Even for someone who knows how to do ROMs, there's lots of little hoops you got to jump through. You got to program your controller. You got to, sometimes they don't work. There's like display issues, all kinds of stuff, that you're going to run into. And, so there's a good market for this, because since ROMs are by nature a little clunky, by the nature that you're sort of kind of stealing intellectual property, even though there's probably no way to buy a lot of those things legitimately currently. ROMs are clunky, and there's just a lot of people who frankly don't have the time. They're like, I don't even know about that stuff, and they would call me, and I'd say, hey, I don't have time to come to your house to set up your ROM and get your controller working, but why don't you just buy this 30 cartridge Nintendo thing, and you'll be set. And they're going to be like, dude, that's awesome. I want it now. That'll be the answer. It looks like a Nintendo, for God's sake. They're going to be psyched. So.
I'm surprised they didn't get into it earlier when all those other like retro consoles came out, because it could have been the perfect time where it's like, hey, this thing can play NES carts or Super NES carts, like went back when they first made it, and Nintendo could have just steamrolled them and been like, here, boom, 30 games, one thing, $60, there, you're done.
But the difference is Nintendo has learned they have to work for their stuff currently. That is the difference. Nintendo is like, that's what's going on now, so.
It kind of drives away the rest of us consumers, because our Nintendo fans who possibly would have wanted this, because it doesn't link to any account you have. So any of the games you buy from owning this, you don't own and can't carry over to the next system. So it's just like, why should I buy this when I could just buy it on an account and then tie it to my account? Right?
I think you said something there. It's definitely them like getting around that problem, because they're gonna have to give up on that soon. So this is like a way for them to sell those games again. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Like, so I think we'll move on now. Citizens of Earth, that game that was taken off the eShop a while ago for bugs, and I think someone tried to use it to hack the 3DS or whatever, is back on the 3DS eShop. So if you wanted to down that from that Humble Bundle that you couldn't download before or whatnot, you can now. But on to some news. So we'll leave the Pokemon stuff till the end, because I know Unoclay has to go soon. But
what about NX?
Yeah, that's going to be the next piece of news after this, but this should be quick. So Lady Layton was announced for the 3DS. It is the next Professor Layton game. It's coming for 3DS and mobile in 2017. It stars Layton's daughter, who has a talking dog. I don't know who understands the talking dog or if it's just talking to the audience. But yeah, Unoclay. Eli, I know you like the Layton game, so were you interested by the trailer?
I'm pretty excited. Obviously, the trailer was in Japanese, even though I think it was dubbed, right? I think, yeah, it looks interesting. Although it looks like it's not going to have regular puzzles. It's going to be more like solving mysteries and stuff, which will be interesting to see. Also, I don't know if you saw this, but I actually emailed back the guy that sent me the press release and asked him whether it would come to NX, considering the rumors that NX would be a handheld device and this game's launching in 2017.
Yeah.
Do you see the response I got? It was kind of cryptic. It said,
I didn't. So
okay, so they said, at this time, we can't confirm any games for the Nintendo NX, but we love working with Nintendo.
Oh, okay, yeah. I did see that.
So, usually, okay, some people might be thinking I'm making a big deal out of nothing, which maybe I am, but usually, like, when you ask about that, they either don't respond, they say, they either don't respond, or they say, like, we don't comment on rumors and speculation, or they just say no. Yeah. The fact that they, gave this whole answer, like, we love working with Nintendo and we can't confirm any games for the NX, sounds like this is an NX game and they just can't confirm it yet.
Yeah, or at the very least, it's in the work planning stages of trying to bring it over.
Yeah, which would further, I guess, aid the rumors that it's a handheld device, which I think would be really cool. Like, if games scheduled for 3DS next year are also coming to the NX, but it would also lend to the fact that it's kind of more of a, also going to have mobile games on it and this and the other, because Layton is also coming to iOS and Android in addition to 3DS.
So, I don't follow the Layton games, so I'm kind of curious. What happened to him? Did he get murdered? Or, like, I'm just trying to understand how the daughter is taking over, but, like, Layton isn't there. Like, what's the canonical reason for kicking him out?
Spoiler alert.
There's no real reason. There was a 3 games that they made, and then they made another 3 games, and the second set was a prequel, so which I guess like Star Wars, the prequel trilogy.
Okay.
So they did that, and I guess they just said, we're done with this character. We've already made 6 games with this character, and his apprentice, and like we've kind of explored everything we have to explore. And so it would just make sense they'd move to a different character, I guess.
Plus, the gender police called and said there needs to be a girl in it.
I don't.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that's the reason.
I like when stories move on to like their kids or something. Like it makes sense canonically, but it's also like still a cool tie to the other characters. Like the new Star Wars is like, hey, this girl is probably someone of importance's daughter, like
someone's boring copycat offspring. Yeah, so somebody was like, "Yeah, we need a boring version of Luke Skywalker. It'll be great."
It sounds like you still have some salt about Linkle.
I just had to get it in there. Yeah, I love it when stories do that. Let's make the same movie again with somebody's kid in it. It's great.
I don't know. I guess it depends on like this, in this case. It sounds like it makes sense because hey, her father is this the guy that looks for mysteries and all this other stuff, so it kind of makes sense like she would inherit like her abilities or teachings or whatever. I was just curious because how would she have like her own mystery murder mystery like division, but her father isn't like involved? It's like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave you here, you're like 8 years old or whatever, I'm just gonna go leave you and you can handle all of these things on your own and I'm not going to help you.
The funny thing is, Matt, that you actually ask about story and Layton, which is comically important, but they're insane. Like, I played all 3 of the original Layton canon. I haven't played anything since the first 3, and like, they're normally you would almost expect a game like them. They're mysteries and they're like little puzzles, as you know, and each little you encounter like maybe 100 puzzles in the game. I don't know, that's a rough guess, but like they vary from easy to really hard. They're like visual puzzles, word puzzles, all that kind of stuff. And in a lot of games like that, you'd expect the story to not matter at all. It would be like, well, just build a story so you can do some puzzles. It doesn't matter, But they go out of their way to make the story have some continuity and stuff like that. The only problem is if you think that Kingdom Hearts had nutty stories, like Layton gets so freaking crazy that it does not make sense. And it like
no, okay, that's not true. I actually really liked. I think my favorite was the 3rd game, the one where it goes to the future, Unwound Future, something like that.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I mean, the explanations in a lot of them I really like. Some of them are less good than others, but it's kind of. I personally really enjoy the stories. I did play. The only one that bugged me was Leighton X Ace Attorney, and I really love that game. And the story was good up until the very end, where they reveal the way it always works is like you think something's going on, and like everything isn't, everything is futuristic, and then there's some way that it ends up being like, I mean, not futuristic. Everything is, fantasy and something like that, and in the end, it doesn't end up being that way, and there's some explanation for everything. And I personally felt at the end of Leighton X Ace Attorney, they made a lot of jumps to make that story work.
And I don't want to spoil the other games for other people who haven't played them yet, but if you're not, spoiler alert for Leighton.
A decade. I'm sure it's fine.
Spoiler alert for Leighton coming up. But if you don't think it's a freaking leap for the end of, I don't know, was it part 1 where everybody's a robot? Like, that the solution of the story is that everyone in the whole world is a robot except for them, and that's the only way that they can make it make sense, that people were, like, dying and coming back. I don't even remember. It was just so freaking...
Village? Is that the one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was banging my head on the desk. I was like, I was supposed to figure this out, solve the mystery, and that's the solution. Like, the solution is so absurd. I would, you know what I mean? I felt like Mike going off on Galaxy 2 or something like that. I was like, okay, I really like this game, so I'm not going to get mad at it. But the idea that the like overarching mystery you're supposed to be solving is literally out to lunch. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm supposed to solve the little puzzles. The big one is a made-up crazy person's like hallucinatory crack smoke dream. I was like, but okay, cool, whatever. It was cool. It was. I love those games. I do think they're really good. They're super good games for the DS. So, but if you haven't played one before, they don't rule out crazy ass endings that like you're gonna have a hard time figuring out. That's my take anyway.
All right, so on to some NX stuff. Ubisoft just recently said they have games beyond Just Dance, which is nice to hear because no one knows. People were hoping there'd be more than that. The Wall Street Journal also corroborated that the NX is a portable console, and apparently they added that apparently it will replace Nintendo's smartphone games. So, I guess the Animal Crossing game and the Fire Emblem game and Mitomo or whatever, I guess, which is interesting.
That's huge. Is that that's a real rumor? Like, that's like people are believing that?
I guess so. It just came out of the Wall Street Journal,
I think,
this week. Yeah.
That's huge. Someone like me who doesn't want to buy a smartphone because I'm a Luddite, you know what I mean? That for real, that I'm like, oh, cool. Well, at least I'll be able to play these games if any of them are any good.
Well, the weird thing is these smartphone games are supposed to be like light versions of the actual games, so that smartphone gamers that don't have Nintendo products will get interested and buy them. So to offer those also on Nintendo products is like, okay. I mean, like, it's not going to hurt you, but it just seems weird. The point is to get them to play your actual consoles, and the people on it could play. I don't know, whatever. It just seemed a little weird. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, so Eli and I were talking about the NX as if it's the end-all be-all, the one console, the hybrid, or whatever you want to call it, where this is the one console we get. But could it be possible that this is just the next Nintendo handheld and the console is something else coming later? Like, maybe this is just I don't know, the 4DS or whatever you want to call it, because a couple of weeks ago I actually brought up, I think, an interesting point that, hey, what if the next 3DS, whatever you want to call it, 3DS Successor, was able to stream your game to the TV? Would that help some people buy handhelds or whatever, because they could take it on the go and watch on TV? So do you think this could just be the handheld and then the console coming later? Because there was also a rumor a while ago that said the handheld would come in November and then the console would come later in 2017. And we know this thing was delayed, so could we still be getting the two different consoles, or do you think this is just the one thing?
You're asking me? I mean, you guys sound like you talked about it already. I feel like we did kick this ball around a lot on a former podcast, so I don't want to kick it too hard. But I mean, it seems like more and more the rumor is that we're getting a unified console, and that's I'd like to believe what you were just saying. I'd rather have a unified console that is still a home-based console that's more powerful and a portable that's like less. Mm-hmm. But the writing's on the wall, and I think I'm starting to believe it's one thing, you know, as long as it's more powerful than or equal to a Wii U at the very least, you know, and easy to build for. Like,
that's not okay. I could create like, I don't know, a refrigerator that's at least as powerful as a Wii U. Okay.
There are smart refrigerators, so as stupid as that sounds.
But I mean, for real, like the fact that the Wii U has 2 gigs of RAM is a joke. You can buy an 8 gig RAM stick for $30, you know, a consumer one, and from Best Buy. You know, it's going to be more powerful than a Wii U. I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
It's just how much.
Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising if you think about it. You could put in like they could have probably made like a PS4 at 16 gigabytes of RAM just for an extra like $30. But anyway, you were saying, Clay, I cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. I was just more asking. You know, like I was.
Okay.
Well, you know.
So I mean,
it sounds like you guys talked about this a lot before.
We did a little bit. Personally, what I want to see is the handheld version of the NX, $200, you know, with say 4 gigs of RAM, so it can run games. Doesn't have to be a high resolution, and then for another $200, the home base, which is like the extension. So if you want the full thing, it's like $400. Yeah. You could just buy the handheld separately if you wanted, and then the $200 edition when you're ready for it, and then that would provide like an extra amount of oomph. Maybe another 4 gigs of RAM, so it would play Xbox One, PS4 games at full resolution. And then if they make the architecture easy enough to port between, or not, I don't want to say port, but if they make the architecture easy enough to develop for, then in theory, I mean, you could put a PS4 game on a handheld with 4 gigs of RAM that doesn't run at 1080p. That only runs, at 480p or whatever the handheld size is. That's what I envision anyway, hopefully.
It sounds like something I would buy. I mean, I think I'm trying to steel myself though for the idea that it's not gonna be 2 systems, because I as an old head,
well, it'd still be one system in the fact that like any game would function on either device.
Right. I would like that better than where I feel like the rumors, that had circulated earlier this year are trending, where it's one thing. But I don't know. I'm torn. I can remember, I'll get my old man Kane out again. I can remember before Game Boy, guys, before when handheld games were freaking Game & Watch and worse. Like God help all you kids out there that you'll never have to know what was worse than a Game Boy, because there were things. There were things, kids. They were terrible. And I'll be sad. Definitely, there's a part of me that'll be genuinely sad if we see the end of the console versus handheld universe, which it's very likely smartphones have kind of pushed us to that direction. I have to accept it. I'm in grieving acceptance at this point that it's like that might be why the NX is going to be a unified console. And it might not be 2 things, like you're saying. It might be one thing, like a console you carry around, basically, and then plug into your TV with a little docking station when you get home. And it's the same system. Because what it's going to be for me is going to feel like a loss of like the separated little worlds that I get to have. That I'm like, oh, neat. Like I love it that when I go like traveling, like I just did, I'm playing my 3DS and it's getting some love, and I haven't played my 3DS for a while, and I'm like, this is great. I'm getting back into all these games I have on here. And then I get home and it's different. I get to play my my Wii U, and I'm playing my Star Fox, and I'm finishing off some games I haven't finished on there and stuff like that. I enjoy that, but is it realistic for Nintendo to continue the separated universes in a world where they're struggling to sell on either? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to say probably 90% of my handheld gaming is done in my bed, or like in a chair, or on my couch. It's not done out and about. I mean, if I'm playing a handheld game outside of my house, it's not a plane. So I can see where they're coming from. I don't play mobile games either, other than Pokemon Go. That's literally the only game that's downloaded on my phone. So for me, it's not really like I get the difference between the different games on the different systems, but for me, it's nice if I'm in front of a TV to plug in Pokemon, and maybe I could actually play it on a TV instead of just on a small little screen in front of me.
I can see that appeal because not as a Pokemon player, you guys don't get console Pokemon. That's almost like an anomaly in a way, where it's like there's just no console versions of that since like N64, if I'm right. Like where you guys could play something approaching your one of your favorite series. So I can see it. I can see it specifically for that series.
Well, are you telling me that you didn't enjoy Poke Park for the Wii? Or
not aware of it. I mean, like I remember.
Or Poke Park 2, also for the Wii.
I didn't even know that's a real thing. I feel like you're trolling me on that's not even a real game. It sounds so funny. I'm like, good God, Poke Park. Good God. I mean, because I know when I sold, the reason I even know about the N64 one is because when I sold, I had like an extra N64 sitting around since the old days in a box, like with a bunch of games. So I unloaded it with all the games I thought, I never won again. And the by far two most valuable games in the sale, people hit me up because they wanted to buy them, was like a WWF game, some kind of wrestling game that was popular, and Pokemon Stadium. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people like really wanted that game, and I mean that may or may not be a good game. You guys have to tell me, but like just the mania for Pokemon alone,
I don't know about you, Clay, but I love playing Just Dance Pokemon Edition for my Wii U.
You guys, like, I've never heard of these games. I mean, there's probably good reason, but
no, that was actually the last one was bullshit. Park was a thing,
okay.
But there was no Just Dance Pokemon.
There was a Just Dance Yokai Watch though, so it's pretty close.
I wouldn't have been surprised if there was. I wouldn't have been surprised. Like I could see Dancing Pikachus being very appealing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Do we want to talk about Pokemon?
I just wanted to say one thing about this. It's gonna be interesting because they can't come in and charge too much for it. Crap! I'm gonna see this again, aren't I? I thought I was gonna sneeze. Sorry. It's gonna be interesting because they can't charge too much for it, because then someone will be like, well, if you're charging $400 for the same as basically a PS4, why don't I get a PS4, right? So if they're gonna have a console part that's gonna be on the same level, they're gonna have to charge like $200 or $250 for it, or else people aren't gonna get attached to it. So they might have to do some weird they might have to do, this is the last generation where you do have two separate console things, but maybe a lot of the games still like work between each other. I don't know. They can't come in too expensive, basically, because no one's gonna bother with them, especially if they're underpowered.
I agree. Well, I'll buy it, but you're right. I think price concern is realistic for a lot of people. I think you're right.
Yeah. So Unoclay, I don't know if you have to go or not. You were saying
I got a couple more minutes. I can listen in while you guys talk about Pokemon. It's cool. I just wanted to get started on time tonight, so thank you for listeners that you don't know what time we started recording, but thanks to the other guys in the podcast because we did start on time tonight, so it's great. I can hang out for a few more.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the Pokemon company showed off a lot of new stuff. They showed off a bunch of new Pokemon, which we're not going to go by individually, but besides the new Pokemon, they also have Alolan versions of classic Pokemon. So I don't know how. I think even in Gold and Silver, basically the second game in the series, they've always had different variations on classic Pokemon. So in Gold and Silver, they would have pre-evolutions or baby evolutions. In some other ones, later ones, they would add, I'll call them post-evolutions. So you have like Magnezone and Licky and Magmortar and Electivire, most of which are ugly. Yeah, I know.
Licky! It's like a naughty hotel, man.
Gosh. But yeah, they've had pre-evolutions and post-evolutions and recently mega evolutions, but now they're doing something I think is probably the best way to change up classic Pokemon, because it seems like they're going to do that anyway. They're adding new types to them. So, for example, Sandslash and Sandshrew were ground Pokemon in the original ones. And now in this new region, they have ice type versions of them. They're ice and steel, and they have Exeggutor, which was grass and psychic before, and now it's grass and
this
dragon.
is the one that looks like an idiot.
It looks so stupid. I don't know why they made this one a quote unquote dragon, because it doesn't fit.
Oh no, that makes sense, dude. He looks. I can see why he's a dragon type. He looks a little bit like a dinosaur.
Well, I mean, they added a tail, but I mean, why would they Why would they choose to make this one into a dragon? For Unoclay, who doesn't know, Exeggutor is a palm tree, and it has coconuts as faces. So each coconut is a face, and they've decided to not only add a tail with a coconut face on it, they've also extended its neck by like 30 feet. It's literally 35 feet tall, and it attacks with its head and its extreme neck.
I would have assumed. I mean, when you're naming these things, I'm imagining stuff, obviously, and I would have thought Exeggutor was like a Japanese businessman with like a briefcase or something, like I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Compute. I'm like Exeggutor, maybe it's because I was raised on He-Man and their names are like what they sound like. They're like Beastman looks like a beast. You know what I mean? It's pretty straightforward.
I've put an image in the chat for what this guy looks like. Honestly, I don't know how he stays upright, because I feel like something like that would require a more dense and expanded body on the bottom. Yeah. Otherwise, he would topple over. That right now looks to me like that is not physically possible. He's fighting the laws of gravity right there.
Pretty much. You'd have to have it wouldn't even make sense. It's so stupid looking. But and then they also added Vulpix and Ninetales. They have ice versions too. So I don't know. I really like that addition to classic Pokemon. What are your thoughts, Eli, on that?
Yeah, I think they look pretty cool. I'm totally down on the few of them. I want to see more, obviously, and I wonder how many Pokemon they did it to. My only concern is are those type changes and designs just for this game, or is in the next game there's going to be something called an Aloha Stone, or I don't know, and if you attach it to your Pokemon, it turns into the Aloha form.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's just for this region, kind of like what they do with the butterflies in X and Y. I mean, I know that's still within the same.
But the butterflies just have different designs. Yeah. They don't have a different type, for heaven's sake. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I could see some sort of item in the future, like an Alola Stone or something, transforming your item and transforming your Pokemon while in battle. But depending on how many designs they do, what really pisses me off in Pokemon is how everything is half-assed. And I don't mean that in a really negative connotation, but half negative connotation.
No, you
but the fact is, they introduced these new mechanics just for one generation, where they really matter, like Mega Evolutions. Yeah. And then they'll only do it for some of the why are there Mega Evolutions for only 20 Pokemon? That makes no sense to me. If you're gonna introduce it and do it fully. Why every Pokemon should then have a Mega Evolution? Or there should be just a general evolution stone or something. Why is it only certain Pokemon? Why do certain ones have two? Why do certain ones have... Oh my god. It's
So, I kind of know the answer to this. They basically wanted to buff Pokemon that sucked, I guess, in the metagame and give them a chance. But yeah, you're right. Pokemon does have this problem where they're here's a new mechanic, and then we're going to drop it the next time. So far, Mega Evolutions haven't been confirmed for this, and I'm wondering if it's even going to return. The problem with Mega Evolutions is you have to find stones randomly in the game, and I could see that being a problem if you keep adding more Mega Evolutions. How are you going to hide all these stupid stones in every game? They would have to... I don't even know why they introduced it that way. They basically have to fix how that mechanic works if they want to carry it over in any capacity. This one kind of has a problem, but it's more just catch it in that game and then transfer. It's not I have to catch this Pokemon and this stupid stone. Oh, this stone is only available in the other version. Oh, you can't really transfer the stone unless you have both the games like beside you, like you're physically transferring it, because no one online is going to trade with you. So.
Yeah. And then not only that, but they've told us nothing about how generational transfers are going to work this time around. We know no items are going to get transferred, and that's what we've been talking about. But how is Pokemon Bank going to work? Once we transfer a Pokemon to the new generation, 7th generation, is that it? We can't transfer it back. Obviously, we can't transfer from 7th to 6th generation. How is that all going to work? Are we going to be is there going to be a separate 7th generation Pokemon application? Do we have to go through a pain in the ass transfer process again? I mean, Nintendo.
Well, is it going to be like if I transferred an Exeggutor to this game, will they transform it? I would think no, because technically it wasn't like born there, quote unquote. But I mean, I guess they're going to have to assign it as a different Pokemon.
There you go.
For all intents and purposes, it technically is kind of a new Pokemon because it changes up the types, the design, and actually the stats are changed too. So for Sandshrew, it's actually like slower than the original one, and I think has like better defense or something. So it's pretty.
So it's actually an interesting thing. I wonder if that's what they're doing in order to make up for the fact that they may not have as many Pokemon. The last generation, I think, had like 70 new Pokemon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, what happens if this time around maybe there's only 30 or 40 new Pokemon, and so these generational changes to the Lilith version, they are pretty much, as you said, like new Pokemon. So that could kind of aid in the fact that you've got this thing, and to complete your Pokedex, maybe you need both forms.
Yeah. I would probably say that you probably don't have to have that. You just have to have a.
Well, not both forms, but you know what I mean. In other games, if you capture more than one form of the Pokemon, they will show up in your Pokedex.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. But as far as using these to make up for a lack of original designs, I don't think that's necessarily. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it automatically means they will, because, like I've said, they've kind of done this with other Pokemon before. Like, oh, here's a Mega Evolution. Here's a different evolution of this Pokemon if you trade it with this item. Or here's a Baby Evolution. And that hasn't really, like, affected how many new designs they've brought in, necessarily. I mean, even with X and Y, they didn't even add new forms. They just brought in Pokemon from, like, a bunch of generations. So it could go either way. But at least these, I think, are cooler than... here's Magmortar. It looks nothing like it should evolved, and it looks incredibly ugly. These are kind of like, what if this type was this type instead? So I kind of like that. The big new thing is that they've basically confirmed that there's no gyms. So for Unoclay, every Pokemon.
Well, they didn't confirm that there are no gyms, but they confirmed something that sounds eerily like gyms and didn't mention actual gyms.
Yeah.
Who knows? It might be there.
Which is why I think, sort of, I guess, semi... Okay, so the way they're doing it is there's 4 islands, and each has their own trial, and you fight, like, a totem Pokemon, which has its own special abilities and calls other Pokemon and whatnot. And then you also fight the leader for that island, which pretty much is like the gym leader of that island, and they haven't really said anything about gyms, and the way these are structured seems like it's taking over gyms, and this also goes hand in hand with a rumor that came out like a month or two ago that said there's no gyms, but basically there's someone governing over each island and you battle them, and basically a whole bunch of other stuff that basically confirms what that rumor was saying. I don't know. I'm not too stoked. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't, like, love it. What they're saying is, like, oh, it's not... These trials don't have just battles. You can... you might also have a quest where you have to find items or answer knowledgeable questions. And I'm like, well, we've had tests in other Pokemon gyms before. That's not new. And the questions are so basic, you would have to be stupid not to get them right. And... fetch quests, like, really? Oh, go get 4 items. Yeah, that totally sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I'm not liking the way they're implementing it so far. So I don't know. Did you have any particular interest in this, one way or the other?
Nah, I mean, I guess kind of new. I don't really. Once again, it's one of those things. I wonder if it'll stick around, you know.
Oh,
And
probably.
yeah, and yeah, I don't really care where it goes. I just want to see what happens. For a long time, Pokemon's been you know, don't fix if it ain't broken sort of thing.
Yeah,
And this time it seems like they're actually adding in stuff. If you know what I mean.
yeah. You're taking a different route.
So yeah, they're going a different route and actually adding stuff in, and the region's different. It's not all one landmass really. So I'm not. I don't really have any positive or negative thoughts on it. I just want to make sure it works.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to them for doing something different. It's cool. I'm just not particularly enthused with it so far, but who knows. They also have riding Pokemon, which was in X and Y, so in certain areas you can ride certain Pokemon. They showed off land.
It looks like it's kind of expanded this time around, though.
Yeah, so with X and Y, it was pretty much just land. This one, there's land with like a Tauros or crap. I forget the other Pokemon they showed off. Whatever. They show off land. They show off sea with Sharpedo, and then they tease air with riding on a Charizard. And then as soon as like the animation for that finishes, they cut it off. They don't show you flying in the air. So we'll have to see what they do with that. That could be neat. Looks all right. The other thing they introduced were Z moves. So these are supposed to be more powerful moves, and it seems like...
How much do you bet it's not there in the next generation?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, this sounds like it's replacing Mega Evolutions, because it's with Mega Evolutions. Basically, you can transform a Pokemon and make their stats stronger for that battle. In this one, you get one super powerful move. As long as the trainer and the Pokemon have the same crystal type, and the Pokemon has a move for that type. So I guess if you have an electric crystal for both of them, and the Pokemon has an electric move, then you can use a superpower electric move. That's basically how it works. I don't know. It's whatever, I guess. Like, okay, whatever, super powerful move. Yeah, it's not all that interesting.
No. And I wonder how that'll work. Like, will I even use it? Like, a lot of the time,
Yeah.
I barely ever even use Mega Evolutions, you know?
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is in the trailers, like, the only Pokemon they show using it are, like, basic Pokemon. So that's the first stage of Pokemon's thing. So, I mean, I know they didn't want to show off the trailers or the evolutions for the starters, but I wonder why they didn't show, like, here's Rhydon or... Yeah, Rhydon using like the rock one, like an evolved Pokemon. It just seemed weird. It's like, is this really for, like, is this more for like the baby Pokemon? Like someone doesn't want to evolve it, but it sucks, so they want to keep using it, and now they have a special attack. I don't know. It might be more of a metagame thing than anything else. And I guess one more thing. There's more news apparently coming August 12th. Which is kind of surprising. Like they've shown off, I think, 40 new Pokemon so far. So it's like, please stop, don't spoil it all. I think this one will probably focus more on features.
Wait, they've shown off 40 Pokemon?
Yeah, something like that. Already.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I didn't even realize.
Yeah, and X and Y had like 70 to 75. So if they're not having any more Pokemon than X and Y, then they showed off half of them, and we still have like. September, October, November, and they're showing off a new trailer like next week.
Okay, never. Well, then I guess there is no lack of new Pokemon. I didn't realize that there were so many already.
Yeah, I'm hoping this. I think this next one will focus on features, just because they haven't really shown them in depth. They've just kind of said, "Hey, here's a new thing. Bye." But there is one last thing. So a month or two ago, there was a rumor, like I said, where someone was saying no gyms and there might be Elite Four and this and that, and a lot of things have been on that list have been confirmed today as accurate. And one of the things was, so instead of gym leaders, we have whatever. I'll just call them island leaders because I don't remember the crazy Hawaiian name for it. But They have
Kahuna.
Yeah, I didn't even bother to write them down. Like, I'm not going to remember this or read it properly. So when they were talking about those rumors, they showed off some concept art for the supposed final evolutions of these new starter Pokemon. And in one of the concept pictures, there was a girl there playing, I guess, with the Litten or Litten's final evolution. And that girl has been shown off today as one of the leaders. And it's not something you can really mistake, like, oh, this is just a basic design. Like, it could have just been a good guess. No, I mean, the similarities are this character has, like, 3-pronged hair kind of thing, like forked hair, and also has a flower in her hair. And it's pretty much like the same girl. Her name is Mallow, or Mao in the game, or whatever you want to call it. And in this concept art, you can see her pretty clearly. So if you want to see the final evolutions, you can go look up that concept art. And if you don't, then don't. But let's just say the people who wanted Litten might be disappointed again. Because, spoiler alert, I guess, it looks like it's probably going to be another firefighting. And I don't know if Unoclay is tuned out by now, but a lot of the fire starter Pokemon.
I'm drooling myself. I'm like literally drooling on myself here. Oh my
it's
god!
It's like Fry with the brain slugs. Like, so the running joke with Pokemon is that basically all of the fire starter Pokemon end up as firefighting. So they end up standing on 2 legs and look more humanoid, and it's just an annoying thing to see the same type over and over again while the other while grass and water like drastically change. And unless it might be Fire Dark, but it's basically like a wrestling fire lion thing, and it looks like it's going to be firefighting again. So it's kind of sad because they broke this streak last gen, and now it's like, well, we did it, we changed it once, we're going back to what we like. I don't know that. Did you see the concept art for those final evolutions, Eli?
I think I did, but I didn't think they were legitimate. But I guess after you talked about it now, I guess they probably are. I didn't look too closely at them. Sorry, I can't really say much on them.
Did you want to see them?
Sure, I got
Right.
paste them in the chat here. Yeah, I honestly don't mind going for another firefighting. I understand that the repetition is there, but I've never had a problem with the design, and I do like both fire and fighting types. So I've never really been opposed to it. But I guess we do have a lot. We got Blaziken and Ferminape, and gosh, I forgot what the pig.
I think there's
Emboar. Yeah.
Yeah, so Blaziken, Emboar. What else did you say? I forget. I think there's like 4 out of the 6.
And Fernape.
Yeah.
And then that's 3. Trying to remember what the see, we've got too many Pokemon.
Yeah.
Finally, someone said it.
I don't think
not a
anyone
surprise.
denies it.
I mean, there's going to be 1,000 in a couple of years. Think, by the time, let's say, my nieces and nephews are old enough to, like, well, I mean, I guess they could play when they're, like, 8 years old, but when they're, like, 15 or something years old, there's going to be 1,000 Pokemon.
And some of those they could only get by going back to, like, I guess, thankfully, now that they've got all these re-releases, go back and play, Diamond and Pearl, like, game came out 10 years ago on the DS.
Oh my gosh.
They want to get everything.
Alright, so...
Although I guess they're next in line for a remake. We can probably expect it next year.
Gosh. We don't need it. I understood the remakes for, like, the original ones because you couldn't really transfer them. Wasn't really a proper way to transfer them over. But once you get to the DS era, it's like, you don't really need remakes of these. Like, you can transfer them. I know they are, but it's just silly. Like, I liked Ruby and Sapphire.
Okay, I don't like this. I don't like this firefighting guy. I take it back.
Okay, I kind of like it. I think it's interesting, but I think they could have gone better ways with it.
I like the bird. I like the grass type bird. He looks really cool. And then I don't like the water one either.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. I think Pokemon tries to be gender neutral for most of their Pokemon, give or take. I guess more so with starters, but I don't really like Poplio's evolution. Like, I can't imagine, hey, I have a male Poplio and it looks like this because it's so, like, clearly feminine. It just looks weird. But unless they do some weird... Technically, there are different versions of male and female Pokemon with some of them. Like, Pikachu has a rounded off tail if it's female. So, I mean, I guess they could do a different design. I just don't see it happening. Fireline, I think, looks kind of cool, but could be better. It's weird that he has, like, the fire coming out of his belt. Like, out of all the places. It's just weird, this wrestler thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the owl looks pretty cool. But he's not, like, amazing or anything. I don't know. They're okay starters. They could have been better. They're kind of fan arty. Like, they don't look like real.
Yeah, they didn't look real. That's why I didn't pay much attention the first time around.
Even the starters I thought looked kind of like fan arty. I'm like, okay, looks like you got someone else on duty to pick up the slack here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they'll be interesting. But yeah, that'll about wrap it up for this week. I'm at the Mango Viking, or I'm Matt. You can find me at the Mango Viking on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Yeah, I botched that up. Great job. Eli, where can people find you?
And I am the Mango Viking. You can find me at Matt on Twitter. No, I'm just kidding. I am Eli. You can find me on Twitter at Paulo Salon. You can find my writing at NintendoEnthusiast.com. And once again, I'm going to plug Enthusiast.gg. You can create your own content. You get paid based off your views. It's like YouTube, but for writing. It's fun. Check it out.
I'm the Mango Viking at Matt.com. And I write at Nintendo Enthusiast, and I get paid the big money to talk about nothing on my IGN currently, because I haven't done anything on there. You can find me playing my Nintendo at Unoclay. It's just UNOCLAY. And
just type it into Google Maps, and you can watch while he plays Nintendo.
If you go to Google Maps and do a Snap Twitter chat, you'll find me on my Nintendo Wii and Wii U. Actually, I'm going to go play some Resident Evil 4 on my Wii, so I won't even be on Wii U tonight, because Resident Evil 4 rules! And that's where you can find me. Thanks, guys.
Cool. So, wherever you're listening, you can find us at Just Another Castle on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, Podomatic, Destructoid, and IGN. You can send us questions and comments, and we'll see you next time and leave gaming to Nintendo.